Good afternoon, everyone. I think that I was speaking to myself there for a moment. Not a good sign, I know, but it's a great pleasure to be here. Sean's just asked me to make sure that you can hear me. So if you could just let me know, please, if you can hear me, and type it into the question box that you can hear me. That'll be great. Oh, thank you. Thanks, everyone. It seems to be okay, Sean. Okay. Great to be here, folks. I've been here a few times before, and I've talked about the ability of my program VectorVest to pick shares that can increase their share price and produce a capital gain. I'm a trader myself, and my background is in trading. The history of VectorVest South Africa is that I was in London doing some consultancy work for a South African bank that's got an operation across there. And while I was in London, I saw VectorVest UK. I took a 5-week trial of VectorVest UK. I was so darn impressed with the thing that I managed to get the South African agency. And that'll be 4 years pretty much now. In the last 4 years, myself and my son Mike, we've been building up VectorVest South Africa, and we have a nice little business of customers here in Johannesburg and Pretoria, in Durban and in Cape Town and all over the country. This is our user group week, and I'll be in Pretoria tonight. I'll be in Johannesburg tomorrow night, Cape Town on, Durban on Wednesday night, and Cape Town on Thursday, and I think Stellenbosch on Friday. So today I'm going to do something different. Today I'm going to talk about shares that can both increase their capital and pay a little dividend at the same time. And Sean's asked me to have a look at the South African market and to have a look at the UK market. Now, I've lived in South Africa for the last 35 years. You can probably hear I wasn't born here, but I've lived here for the last 35 years. And about 18 months ago, I looked at the UK market and I really hadn't a clue about it. So my knowledge of the UK market has been built up totally via VectorVest. So before blithering on any further, I'm going to talk about the VectorVest Edge, folks. I see at CNA, their number 2 selling book is Anthony Robbins's new book on money. He has gone around the world and talked to traders and investors, and he asked them, the first question he asks all these people is that, what's your edge in the market? How are you going to take money off all of the rest of the bright young people in the marketplace? It's an interesting read. Big, thick book, and as I say, in Lone Hill, where I go to gym, it was number 2 position this morning. The VectorVest Edge is quite simple. We combine the fundamental position of a share with the technical position of a share. The technical position of a share, I think, is the trend of the share, with the technical position of the overall market. And when all three are in sync, then the future can be determined with a certainty that's unusual for this line of work. And I've talked about that in these webcasts before, and that's what we put together to be able to predict the future, to try and work out with a good degree of certainty as to whether a share is going to go up or not. Okay. Today I'm going to use the program, as I say, to try and look at yield as well. And I have a PowerPoint presentation made up which defines all of this. But to start with, I'm going to actually look at the VectorVest program itself. Anybody that wants the PowerPoint presentation, Sean's got it, and you can have it with the greatest of pleasure. And the recording is available as well. So I'm just going to go to the PowerPoint presentation now. I'm going to go into VectorVest itself, and just to show you something you haven't seen before, I'll go into VectorVest UK. Okay, so this is VectorVest UK, and the front page of VectorVest UK just looks exactly the same as VectorVest South Africa, looks exactly the same as VectorVest US. The difference is that in the UK we're tracking 2,156 stocks. On Friday there was 442 rising, 500 selling, 500 falling, and 1,200 going absolutely nowhere. Okay, the little dial on the front page tells us that the primary wave, or the short-term trend of the market, is in fact down. And VectorVest does not advocate buying any stocks at this time. So for the last couple of weeks in the UK, VectorVest defined two trends in the marketplace, a short-term trend and an underlying trend, and these are defined by these two words on the front page. And certainly since the 16th of January, the UK has been in a up situation. And it's been a really cracking good time to be in the stock market in the UK in January. It's been at least since the 16th. We can go back in history and look at it a lot longer than that. But on the front page, it summarizes the last 3 weeks worth of trading. The green looks at the momentum of the price, the momentum of the speed of the price, which is the acceleration of the price, and the momentum of the buy-sell ratio, the number of shares that are rising divided by the number of shares that are falling, which is a measure of the breadth of the marketplace. And so for 3 weeks during January, up until the 29th, we had a down-up situation. So in the UK at the moment, the short-term trend, if you were a trader, that's really important. The short-term trend of the market is down. The underlying trend is up. And we are in a confirmed up situation. And the confirmed up situation means that the market is trading above the highest close of the last 10 days. Okay. And that's quite a positive situation. Before we would do anything more or add to any shares in the UK, I would want to see the little pointer moving into the green. And here it's going to say VectorVest advocates buying safe undervalued stocks at this time. So let's just look at the stocks themselves. To find the stocks, we go to Viewers, and I want to click on Stock Viewer. And as you can see here, we can look at industries, look at sectors, all sorts of things. But I'm just going to click on Stock Viewers. Now, when I first had a look at VectorVest UK and started to do some work on it, I didn't know any of these companies at all. As I say, I've been in South Africa for 35 years. Before I came to South Africa, the only interest I had in life was chasing rugby balls and young ladies. I had absolutely no interest in the stock market. So this was all new to me, and my knowledge of the UK market has been built based on VectorVest principles. Right at the top is a company called Victoria PLC. Next is Bellway. Bellway's a builder. Hammerson is next, also in the building game now. L means that it's listed on the London stock market. If there's a little X beside the L, that means that there's options written on the share. Now, we don't have any here, but we could see an A there. If there was an A, that would mean that it's actually traded on the alternative investment market, which is the equivalent of our Alt-X. Okay, so the larger stocks will be, in fact, have a little X. Now, if you don't want to look at the whole market, we can actually just go to watch lists. We can look at the FTSE 100, the FTSE 250, and the 100 and the 250 together in the FTSE 350. And those would be the those would be the 350 shares on the London market that are have the highest market capitalization. Many brokers, and I can't speak for PSG, but many brokers will only put automatic stop losses on the top 350 shares. So that's quite important. Otherwise, you're going to have to monitor your stops yourself. I think that if you are trading without leverage, sometimes automatic stops are a pain, but if you're trading with leverage on a CFD, then I think your stop should be in the system. And certainly if you're traveling around and you haven't got the diligence or the time or the interest to sit in front of the computer and watch these things, then I think that having a stop in the system can help an awful lot of, reduce an awful lot of heartache. So we go back to all of the shares listed. And let's talk it through. Now, the little bit that I'm going to do now, folks, will be similar for South Africa, similar for the UK, similar for Germany, similar for Italy. Now, we have databases similar for Australia. We have databases all over the world. Canada, India, and I believe China is coming, okay, although it's not there yet. So I want to talk about a company that I know well called Persimmons. Now, Persimmons is the largest builder in the UK. It's a FTSE 100 builder. It builds industrial complexes, undergrounds, doesn't do retail work at all. It's trading at £15.92, and as the market sold off, it was off 15 pence on Friday. Now, the first proprietary number on VectorVest is value, and we believe that this company is worth £25.44. So we see at a glance that this company looks significantly undervalued by the market. And as a default, we favor undervalued shares. Now, I've done a lot of work on our valuations locally and a lot of work on our valuations in the UK, and rarely are our valuations away by more than 15% away from the institutional consensus. I think the only one that I can think of that's away from the institutional consensus is our valuation on CCO, the South African and UK company CCO, Capco, where our valuation is slightly more optimistic than anybody else's, and to put a value on a share with a 200 times earnings is quite something. And so far our valuation is proving correct, because over the last couple of weeks it's gone up very nicely indeed. Those of you that are technicians may have noticed the marked reverse divergence on the weekly chart, which very rarely lets you down. Certainly in Persimmons, our valuation is on the optimistic side by institutional valuations that I've taken, but not more than 10 or 15% away from institutional valuations. Now, the really important number in VectorVest is this number called relative value. Now, you're going to have to think for 5 minutes, not 5 minutes, 30 seconds now. What VectorVest does is it projects the earnings of this company forward for the next 3 years. It assumes that the earnings will be fully discounted into the price at some time over the 3 years, not when. And it works out what the price will be. It takes the projected price and subtracts the price on Friday to work out the upside. And it divides that upside by what a AAA rated corporate bond will pay in the UK. And the AAA rated corporate bond is our measure of the risk-free rate. And that's all scrambled into a ghastly thing called the capital asset pricing model that I'm sure many of you will have done battle with in your exams over the years. Persimmons has got a relative value of 1.55. And ladies and gentlemen, that's saying that we believe that Persimmons will outperform a AAA rated corporate bond, or a measure of the risk-free rate, by 55% over the next 3 years, which on a scale between 0 and 2 is excellent. VectorVest put anything above 1.3 as excellent. It drives the share price, in my opinion. I think it's the most important number on VectorVest. Okay. Interesting, ladies and gentlemen, that in South Africa, because there's not nearly as many AAA rated corporate bond, we actually use a short-dated South African bond as our measure of the risk-free rate. Okay, that's the difference. That's a slight difference. There's just not enough of them to get a consensus here. Now, the next number is relative safety. And in relative safety, we look back at the accounts over the last 5 years. We look at the balance sheet, income statement, the cash flow statement, sales, margins. We scramble those numbers up and we come with a measure of the earnings safety or the earnings predictability. The number is scaled between 0 and 2. Above 1, good. Further above 1, the better, and above 1.38, we're saying that this company's making money, lots of money, and these numbers are getting better. Now, I'm an engineer. I've got a degree in engineering, a PhD in mathematics. I'm not an accountant, but I assure you that if you look at this company and you look at the books, as an engineer looks at books, you can see that they're flush, okay, and they not difficult to see that. The next number is relative timing. and it measures the trend, mathematically massages the trend between 0 and 2. Above 1, the trend is up. Below 1, the trend is down. The further above 1, the faster the trend is moving up. And I think Sean told me that he did a trading for living webinar recently, and in that particular work, Alex Elder talks about the MACD indicator a lot. And I think the mathematics of the derivation of the RT, the relative timing indicator, and MACD are quite similar. Of all of the numbers, the relative value is the most important, because in relative value, we're predicting the future. And these two numbers, we're looking at the past. Every day, and then what we do is we put these three numbers together, and that calculates the master indicator VST. And as a default, all of the shares on the London market and in the South African market are listed by ascending VST. And if you're after capital gain, that's where the winners are. Now, as a default, we favor undervalued shares that are aggressively growing their earnings, RV, safely, RS, that are going up, RT, and we want to buy those into a general market that's going up, and that's the basis of the VectorVest edge. As you can see, Persimmons is on a buy recommendation. That's not saying go out and buy it. As you can see, there's dozens of companies on a buy recommendation. It's just saying that it should be on your watch list. It's moving at the moment. We believe that this company is going to grow its earnings by 23% next year. And these numbers to the right-hand side are projections of the future. But if we go right across, we can see some extra numbers. Okay. Yield. This is the projected dividend yield next year. Dividend safety. And the yield has dropped a little bit from last year. And VectorVest put those together into the master indicator for dividend investors called YSG. Yield, the safety of the yield, and the growth of the yield. So, for people that are looking for capital gain, we will look at a mixture of value, safety, and trend, VST. For those people that are looking for yield, we will rate our stocks by a mixture of dividend yield, dividend safety, and dividend growth, YSG. As we'll see in a moment, I am there to find shares that are going to both increase their share price, pay a dividend, and grow that dividend safely. I shall want to sort my stocks by VST plus YSG. Now, we can do this all by eyeballing it, but VectorVest have a tool that does this automatically. So I can simply go to Unisearch. This is today. We can go back and test all of this stuff, and you can have great fun doing that. But always put in time of search. It defaults to today's number. And the first thing that I'm going to put in, and folks, this is the UK, this is not South Africa. Just remember that in the UK, the bank is paying 0.5% if you're lucky, and you've got to pay tax on that. So, if a dividend of 2% is significantly higher, that's like, what is the base rate here? Okay, but what is the bank? What'll a bank pay here, Sean? 7 odd. So to outperform that, you would need a dividend yield of 14 here, which is hard to find. So I'm going to put dividend yield, okay, and greater than equal to 2. How's that? We're just having a bit of fun here. And if I click this, it's going to find all of the shares that have a dividend yield of 2, and those shares will be rated by VST. But I'm going to change that to VST, and we can rate these by dozens of things. And if Neil from Pretoria is listening, he normally listens to this. Neil likes to rate them by VST and a thing called CI. CI is a comfort index. It automatically measures a share that's in the throes of a big trend, but there's only so much that I can do in a few minutes, okay? I'm going to rate those by VST plus YSG. Say okay. Okay, so it's going to find all the shares in the London market that should pay a dividend next year of more than 2%, and it's going to rate those by the shares that have the highest combination of value, safety, and trend, and yield. The safety is the yield and the growth of the yield. And I'm going to build not a complicated, but a fairly good model in a moment. And by doing that, we immediately see shares that can fill that particular requirement. Fletcher King, Bellway, Berkeley. Now, Berkeley's a share that the managers have committed themselves to an 8% dividend yield over the next 3 years, folks. Okay. Caledonian Investments. Okay. The next thing that I can put in is that I want now to eliminate companies that are not in great financial fettle. If we are looking for a company that's going to grow its share price and pay a dividend, the chances are that we're not aggressive traders. Okay, we don't want to be looking in the market every day, so we don't want surprises. So the next thing I'm going to put in is that I'm going to put in under capital appreciation. I'm going to say that the relative safety must be reasonably good, and I'm going to make that 1.2. I run my search. Not responding. Okay. There we go. Fletcher King comes at the top again. Bellway, Berkeley, Caledonian Investments, Imperial Tobacco, Barrett, another builder, Galliford Try, a builder, 3i, Venture Capital Company, Go Ahead Group. I'm starting to like the look of these already, folks. Now, the next thing we could do is chart them, and unfortunately that takes a little bit of internet, and then sometimes that causes the sound to go down. Fletcher King is a tad illiquid. I know the share. I really like Bellway. I really like Berkeley, but we can go much further than this. Now, the next thing that I'm going to put in is that I now want a share that's going to grow its earnings growth rate of greater than 10%. Those earnings sooner or later will be translated into the share price, sooner or later translated into the yield. So I'm press this again. And again, we've got Fletcher King at the top, Bellway, Berkeley, Caledonian Investments, Imperial Tobacco, Barrett Developments PLC, Galliford Try, 3i, Go Ahead Group. The Go Ahead Group, guys, is a company that's in the bus industry, and they own franchises for railways and buses all through the UK and in the southern states of the US. Very, very steady company. As you can see, it's trading at £24. We believe it's worth £37. The relative value is 1.49. The relative safety is 1.3. Now, the last thing that I'm going to put in here, and largely I'm just playing because we have all of these actually done for you, but I'm just showing you how you can actually put together a watch list to find shares that could grow their share price and pay a yield and grow that yield fairly safely. And you can actually engineer a methodology that suits your own personality. If you've ever read a book called Market Wizards, Jack Swigert, the author, concludes at the end of two big, fat, thick books that traders who make money and investors that make money when they've finally found a trading system that suits them. And VectorVest allows you to do that. So the last thing I'm going to put in, and then we'll look at some canned searches, is I now want, I'm going to look here at stocks, and I'm going to filter by VectorVest fields. And here there's dozens of things that we, oh no, that's not right, David. Stocks, filter by VectorVest fields, and I'm going to go down, I've done something wrong here. Stocks, let's get rid of that, delete that. Filter by VectorVest fields, and I go down until I get value divided by price. We favor shares that are trading under the VectorVest valuation. So if the value divided by the price, if the value is above the price, I want to see that the value divided by the price is at least 1.05. There's something coming in here. One point. I have no idea what I'm doing wrong here. Custom value 1 point. I don't know what's happening there. Anyway, that doesn't seem to want to work. I have no idea why. I can look for shares and eliminate them manually now. Fletcher King is trading at 61. We believe it's worth 107. It's very low cap. So if I were to put this together myself, I've written a search. It's under conservative, and it's called David's Pension. Would you like to save that? I'm not going to save that, folks, because it's just something that we made up for a bit of fun. I'm looking for a relative value of 1.25 and above. Relative value drives the share price. Relative safety above 1.2. I'm looking for a dividend of greater than 2. I'm looking for a share to grow that dividend by 8% a year. Dividend growth must be 8%. So that company, Persimmons, that reduced the dividend would not be there. The dividend safety is greater than 50. And on a scale between 0 and 100, VectorVest reckon that if it's above 50, it's okay. And the stock's growth rate must be greater than 10%. And that's called David's Pension. And I've been running that for in South Africa for quite a long time. Folks, can you just let me know if you can hear me out there? Yes. Okay. Okay. It's just that we have a problem here. I don't understand. I thought the internet had gone down. It doesn't want to run that. I have no idea why. Okay. It was working perfectly a second ago. I have absolutely no idea why it doesn't want to run that. Stick to watch list. Okay. I have no idea why it doesn't want to run that. Okay, it just got confused, I think. Okay, well, I'm not doing this on my own PC. So Pale Blue Chips is another search. This is a standard search. On this occasion, it's looking for shares that have a dividend yield of greater than 1, dividend growth of 10, dividend safety of 50, growth rates 110, and the relative safety is 1.25. That's a standard search, and if I no. I have no idea why that doesn't want to work. I really have not. That one's working. The ones that we don't want to work are working. I have no idea why that doesn't want to work. Let's I have no idea why that. No, I have no idea why that doesn't want to work. Okay, well, that's the search, and it finds shares that do all of that relatively easily. And I had shares picked out of this particular list to actually highlight as for the 5 shares that are going to work. I have absolutely no idea why that doesn't want to work. We go to yesterday's date. Will that make it work? No. No idea why that doesn't want to work at all. So we can have a look at exactly the same thing in South Africa. Effectively, South Africa is in a more positive situation. The short-term trend in South Africa is up. The longer-term trend is up, and we're in a confirmed up situation, and the momentum is good. And as you can see, the little pointer is saying that it's still safe, it's still okay to buy safe undervalued stocks that are rising in price at this time. The South African market reminds me of Indiana Jones. Remember Indiana Jones? Every time he was down, he would raise his head, pull his hat forward, and give that wonderful Harrison Ford stare and just run again. So it just reminds me of Harrison Ford. So if I go to Unisearch, and I go in to Unisearch and I go to conservative, I'll look for David's pension. Now David's pension, because it's South Africa, I'm actually looking for a 2.5% dividend yield. Everything else is, and I'm looking for shares that can grow their profits by 13%. So I've upped the stakes a little bit because of inflation. Okay, inflation's totally different in both countries. So, if I run that particular search, then it just won't run at all. So I think we have an internet problem here or something. But it surprises me that you can still hear me if that's the case. Just do a check again there, folks. It seems, yeah. I've done something wrong here, that's for sure. I've done something wrong. I'm going to take the relative value out there in case that comma is upsetting it. If I run the search, no, it's not. If we run pale blue chips, David's pension's modified. Would you like to save it? No. And if I run pale blue chips, no, I have absolutely no idea why those darn things won't run. So like before, I'll do my best to put this back in South Africa from start. So I'm going to write a new search, and this time I'm going to ask for stocks, dividend analysis, dividend yield is greater than equal to 2.5. This is 2.5. I don't know why that's doing that on this computer. 2. Time of search, and that has got to be VST plus YSG, and stocks with a relative safety Now it won't take.
You shift in it. Shift in.
Do you have to do shift to get the comma? I don't think so. No. Yeah.
Function.
No, no, it should do the point without anything, I think. I have no idea why that's happening. So there's all the companies that have a dividend yield of greater than 2, and Peregrine comes out exceptionally well. So Peregrine comes out really well. First Rand or RMB, one of the two comes out really well. Okay. Coronation comes out of it quite nicely. And Resilient comes out quite nicely. I'm personally holding RMB, Peregrine and RMB and Coronation. So, but I'm very unfortunate that that silly thing doesn't want to work. I have no idea why. Unfortunately, it's a function. Sometimes if the computer, there is a fix for this. Sometimes if the computer is set to South African English as opposed to American English, that can happen. But there is a fix for it that our people in North America can change. But this is the first time we've run it on this particular PC, so I apologize for that. But there is a fix for that. And we have run into that problem in the past. I don't know why. It seemed to work earlier on, okay. So if I... No, I just won't run that at all. So clearly it's upset about these figures here. So if I take that out, that's a problem, I'm afraid. So that's what I'm trying to get across, folks. By rating the shares by a mixture of value, safety, and trend, and yield, safety, and growth, then we can find shares that stick their foot into both camps, that have got this mixture of being able to grow the share price and being able to pay a dividend and grow that dividend. And I think if you play with that, I apologize as to why this thing didn't want to work. It worked initially perfectly. Doesn't want to work now. Okay. So any questions, folks, on that? Any questions? Anybody that's interested, and I know that you didn't see it operating at its best, but anybody that's interested in a 60-day trial of VictorVest, then if it's the other way. I don't know where that slide went to. VictorVest.co.za / PSG60. Okay. Or VictorVest.com /60 will get PSG60 will get you to the same place. Any questions, folks? What shares does VictorVest recommend on VST alone? So if we go to, in South Africa, if I go to Viewers, and I go to Stock Viewer, okay, and Astral Foods is at the top of the list. It's undervalued, growing its earnings aggressively and safely. Rhodes, the relative safety is not bad, looks fine to me. I've been talking about Capitec for a very long time. It's still running, nearly fully valued by us, and the relative values come down. There's probably more in it. Goldfields, a speculative share. Peregrine, I like the look of. Torre, the relative safety is on the low side, but looks good to me if you're prepared. I think Rand Merchant Bank looks spectacularly good. So I hope that answers your question. These winning shares are very easy to find on VectorVest. If you just want to find shares that are going to grow their share price, then they're all in the top 20 or 30 on VectorVest, okay? And you can search for them, but the search facility, when you've only got 350 odd shares, is not nearly as important as it is in the UK, where you've got 2,000, or as it is in America, where you've got 8,000. We had that problem when we first started with VectorVest in South Africa with that comma, and that's actually a Windows thing, believe it or not a VectorVest thing. But we have a fix for that. We can fix that in a few minutes. There's not an issue there. That's the first time that I've seen it come up in a couple of years, and it's fazed me a little bit. I think that First Round still got plenty of legs in it. At the minute, I like RMB, the holding company, better. Okay, Telcom's got plenty of legs in it still, and I think just about to break out. And we can chart all of those relatively easily. You can see there is Astral Foods. The green lines are valuation. That's the share price, obviously, and I can put on my stop price. There's the VectorVest stop, and the VectorVest stop, and there's the buy recommendation. Those of you that are technicians will know the very marked reverse divergence that actually give a textbook entry at 150. So that is classic VectorVest, and certainly everybody's talking about Astral at the moment. I heard Alan Gray rattling on about it. There's Rhodes. Somebody had a fat finger there, but not a lot of data to go on. Technically, the fundamentals look really good. Okay, so Peregrine. Get rid of the MACD. There's our valuation right up there. Looks to me as if it wants to break, and I am a shareholder of Peregrine. I think it looks great. RMB pushing up here, and there's our valuation. It's just broken there. As long as we get a decent market, then I think we'll be fine. There's Telcom. Looks to me as if it wants to break up. I've traded this so many times on the way up. From there, and now I'm waiting for a nice little break of that level. So you don't have to forget about your technical analysis, but VectorVest finds these, and VectorVest has been talking about Telcom for the last year when Telcom wasn't heard of. And the most difficult thing, of course, is to get yourself to buy into it, because nobody was talking about Telcom in the slightest. So it finds shares that are going to grow their share price exceptionally easily, and making money in the market relatively easy. It takes a little while to believe it, that's for sure, to believe the valuations, and that's why we give you the 60-day trial so that you can actually make sure that it works for you. What I tried to talk about today was to use Unisearch to actually find shares that are going to grow the share price, pay a dividend, and grow that dividend. And VectorVest does that exceptionally well, but we had that technical issue today, which I apologize for. There's no contracts at VectorVest. It's a 60-day trial, which is $9.95, and then after that it's $49 a month. It's on a month-to-month basis, so if you can't make you money and you're not totally happy with the service, then you can just simply stop it. So I don't think we can be fairer than that. Okay, and any more questions, folks? Hello, Peter. How are you? Will you be there on Wednesday night, Peter? Yeah, Peter, that comma threw me a little bit there, I'm afraid. We haven't had that issue. That's great, Peter. I look forward to that. We can chat about it, certainly. We haven't had that issue in 2 years, 2.5 years. It's a function of, it's actually a Windows problem. but we have a fix for it. There's a guy who at VectorVest, guys, there's support for 18 hours a day over the telephone, there's a guy who heads that department called Stephen, Stephen will sort that. If you ever have that problem, Stephen will sort that problem out instantaneously. The problem is sorted out immediately by changing to English US. But English US causes a problem in Word in that you can't say color, C-O-L-O-U-R, or C-E-N-T-R-E. So the fix, in fact, means that you can run VectorVest South Africa, Windows South Africa. Okay. Surely, VectorVest is an analytical tool, and certainly you would do all your trading with Sean here at PSG. Nothing with us at all. Okay, it's an analytical tool. Colin, the $49 includes all of the data, everything. Okay. 2 more questions, folks, and then we need to pack up. My profuse apologies as to why that darn thing wouldn't work. I hope you got the idea of what I'm trying to do. On Thursday night, Thea, we'll be in Cape Town at Canal Walk at the Crystal Towers Hotel, 6:30 to about 8 o'clock. Yes, Peter, with the South African subscription, you get one other international database thrown in. So you will get either the UK market, the US market, Canadian market, Australian market, Indian market, Hong Kong, Singapore, and the whole of Europe. Shirley, do you mean how do you book to come to the presentation in Cape Town? Shirley, don't book at all. Just come along to the Crystal Towers Hotel. We're on the first floor. I'm not quite sure what room yet, but on the first floor, and we start at 6:30. There's normally a really good crowd in Cape Town, and just come up and say hello, please. The extra databases are $20 a month, Peter. Okay, are $20 a month. So, folks, that's great. I'm put a bit of a damper on my day that stupid thing wouldn't work. I hope you got the gist of it. I think that by sorting your shares by a mixture of VST, value, safety, and trend, you find shares that should grow their share price. And then by adding in yield, the safety of the yield and the growth of the yield, we find shares that can do both. I don't think that you need to forget your technical analysis skills. You can add those to VectorVest, but the VectorVest Edge is very complete. We look at the technical position of a share, we look at the fundamental position of a share, and we look at the technical position of the overall market. Peter, on Thursday night in Cape Town, or in fact all this week, I do a market review, and then I talk about VectorVest, and then we talk about some shares. Okay, simple as that. Probably focus, Peter, on capital gain, on finding shares that can grow their share price. So tonight I'm in the Irene Country Lodge at 6:30. Tomorrow night at the Santon Holiday Inn, just beside the old Village Walk, which is no more. Wednesday night at the Riverside in Durban, and on Thursday night at the Crystal Towers. Next Wednesday, if you want to make the trip, I'm in Guildford in Surrey. Be great to see you. And on Thursday night in Oxford, and Oxford we have to finish our user group early because across the road the bell ringers start, and if we're not finished by about 7:30 we can't hear ears with the bell ringers. Thanks very much, Sean. Thanks for having me. It's VectorVest, Peter. It's VectorVest.com/PSG60. Any problems, you give me a shout. Okay. PSG60. Thanks very much. Bye-bye now.
Okay, guys, from my side, I can only apologize again. Obviously, the first time we're using this laptop with VectorVest. Yeah, we had a bit of a technical glitch again. Just quickly, just to what's coming up, upcoming events. This Wednesday now, we've got a webinar at 1 o'clock again, where the topic is investing like the best, the Warren Buffett approach, the Peter Lynch, the John Templeton approaches to the market, and how you can basically copy them. And in 2 weeks' time, should I be investing offshore? Hopefully, you got a bit of appetite from David's talk today, the UK market and things like that. I believe that you should be taking some money offshore just to diversify geographically. I think it's a good idea. Okay. In March, we're going to talk about trading CFDs. A lot of people have asked me how to actually use the platform. So we'll be focusing on how to use the trading platform, especially for CFDs. And then the end of March, how to select shares for capital growth and dividend income. Basically what we've done now with VectorVest, I'm going to show you how to do it on the PhD Alliance platform using the research tools there. So those are upcoming webinars. And then our traders forums. Tomorrow night here at the Brighton Country Club, we're going to talk about investing and trading part-time. So there's still lots of space available. There's a face-to-face meeting with us and my colleagues. So just go along to our website and book a seat for that. 17th of February, rather, I'll be down in Durban, the Blue Waters, and the topic there is, can I make money as an investor or trader? Obviously, the question is yes. Obviously, it's just having a plan how to do it. And then it's the 3rd of March. For the first time ever, I'm coming down to Bloemfontein. So those of you that are in Bloem or in the Free State, come along. So if you come support me, I come there more often. And the topic will be trading for a living. Okay. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's presentation. I say thank you to Dr. David Paul from VectorVest South Africa for coming along. Remember, this presentation is being recorded, and I'll be sending the presentation as well as a PowerPoint presentation to you guys. There's our contact details. If you have any questions along our presentations, anything we can change or improve on, let us know. So from my side, thanks a lot for participating. Thanks a lot for coming along on a Monday afternoon. And I appreciate your support, and we'll talk again. All the best. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.